that's how we work. It doesn't. We don't need much. You put me in a good shop. That's shitting in high cotton right there.
Hello, print friends, and welcome to the 41st episode of Pine Copper Lime, the internet's #1 printmaking podcast. I'm your host, Miranda Metcalf. I release weekly podcasts with people from the print world who are doing something a bit beyond the expected. So please subscribe on your podcast listening app of choice, or share it with a fellow printmaker who you think might be interested. Thank you so much to everyone who has supported Piece the L through our Patreon this week or purchased through our online print gallery. I know this is a very uncertain time for everyone, financially and otherwise, and I see you, I feel you, and I thank you. Printmaking forever, shun the non-believers. You are in for a treat this week. My guest is John Hancock. John is a bit of a legend in the contemporary printmaking world. I've had past guests who have studied with him, and his mix of performance and printmaking has earned him the well-deserved title as a granddaddy of contemporary printmaking. I also noticed when we were editing this episode that I can't remember the last time I laughed this much during an interview. So, you're gonna love it. And without further ado, sit back, relax, and prepare to be amazed with John Hancock. Hey John, how's it going?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. How's quarantine life treating you?
It's great. I come out of my little hidey hole about twice a day to use the bathroom, get a little vitamin D, and then just go back in the hole.
Yeah.
So.
And is that hole the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The affectionately known as the rat's nest, wolf's lair. I did have to clean some rat excrement off my work desk, but that's fine. It's part of how I live.
Yeah. So. Well, it's these little chores that we can finally get to, right, now that we're all in lockdown. Well, I would say that I know you and your work, again, just...
Really?
I do. I was going to say I know it, just by reputation and from, seeing it at SGCIs here and there and, knowing that a lot of the people that I've had on the podcast know you and speak very fondly of you. And I'm really excited to have a chat and learn a little bit more about you and your background. But before we kind of dive in, I'm hoping you could maybe tell everyone a little bit of an introduction and just let people know who you are, where you are, and what you do.
All right, let's see. John S. Hancock from the great state of Texas. Born here, probably die here. I teach at a small unnamed university in Central Texas, and I just make art. Mm-hmm. I went to... Let's see, where did I go to school? I went to Baylor for my undergrad, and I started out as a journalism major, and then my brother kind of got me into printmaking. He shoved a plate in front of me and said, "Here, you're drawing this." I said, "Okay." And then after that, I said, "Damn, I'm going to go change my major." And I guess I've been making prints ever since I was 18, my second semester in college, so...
Yeah.
And then did that ordeal, and then went to Texas Tech and got my master's out there. Kind of jumped around from just odd jobs, worked for the highway department for a while, landscaper, carpenter, taught, teaching now. One of those cushy jobs, academia.
Academia has the nice work if you can get it, for sure, but I think that it's getting a little bit tougher for some of those people coming out with MFAs to find something that's beyond a semester commitment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've done my share of that, too.
Yeah.
I just remember when I was finishing up as an undergrad, my teacher said, "Well, if you get a master's, then you can teach in college." I said, "Okay." So my whole idea is I'll get a master, I'll teach at a college so I can have a shop to work in. Not teach, but have a shop to work in. So I was pretty petty in what I wanted. So I guess teaching is just the collateral damage of having a shop to work in.
Fair enough. I think a lot of people are probably wishing that they'd invested in a home studio right about now.
Mine's sitting a bit fallow, but I'll get it uncovered. I have the luxury of working at school a lot of times. But
So did you grow up in Texas then as well?
Yeah, I grew up in Waxahachie, Texas, just south of Dallas, with my two brothers and my folks, and just normal childhood, just little savages, just normal kid stuff.
So you said your brother was the one who introduced you to printmaking, but was art a particular part of your growing up? Did you guys go to museums? Did you have artistic blood in the family that inspired you?
I guess so. My mother, she knew how to draw. Some of my memories would be that when they got done smoking their pack of cigarettes, they'd take it apart and give us that foil wrapper and say, here, draw on that.
Huh.
So we'd draw on that sort of stuff. And then we always went up to the Fort Worth museums quite a bit, and Dallas Museum. So I guess we were pretending to be cultured. I think my dad liked going to the art museums too, but I think my mother seemed fairly cultured. Yeah, we always messed around with stuff like that.
I really associate Dallas as being quite a good hub for art now, and quite a place where people take patronage pretty seriously. Was that the case as well when you were growing up? Has it always kind of had that legacy?
I think so. The Dallas Museum of Art they always had a good collection, and we always ended up going to Fort Worth more so because my dad really liked the Amon Carter with the American art. He liked a lot of the Remingtons and Russells, so we kind of grew up on that. And my favorite one was Grant Wood Parsons Weems' Tale. I'd always go look at that thing with the little George Washington in the bottom corner of it, and so I always liked Grant Wood from an early age, I think.
That precision, but bordering on a bit of surrealism, I think, is what I think about when I think about those kinds of paintings.
Yeah, those regionalists were weirdos.
Yeah.
I always liked a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that any of that shows up in your current work?
Yeah, I'm ripping them off all the time.
Oh.
Using that R&D, it's not research and development, rip off and duplicate. But I just always kind of enjoyed the landscapes that they always had in it. So a lot of times just dump a rolling hill with a row of Italian cypress or a plowed field or something just to kind of take up space. Because who knows what to put in the background of a picture anyway.
And so you say, you kind of grew up and you were drawing, and then you were originally thinking journalism. Was that from a political standpoint that you were interested in that?
No, I was kind of like writing and stuff like that. And I guess it was being kind of semi-vocational. Then I realized maybe I'll end up writing obituaries the rest of my life. A small town newspaper. And I realized, maybe that's not the case. But, my brother and I, we still write quite a bit. And we always do that for our performances. And
when you were introduced to printmaking, when your brother came in and just kind of handed you the plate, was it something that you were drawn to right away? I mean, why do you think that maybe connected with you over drawing or sculpture or anything like that?
Well, I think he had a printmaking class. Back then, the printmaking shop at Baylor was in this dumpy old building, and it was just a cool space to be in. It kind of stunk and smelled like solvent, and he's always kind of making shit. So I thought, wow, this is like fun. And so I just would go down there and just hang out, and it just kind of, maybe it was the process part of it, and the idea of doing more than one, editioning or doing a multiple. That way you can give them to your friends. So he's a printmaker too.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to ask, because I think people know you as John Hancock, but also as one half of the Amazing Hancock Brothers. And also when you're talking about how you're still someone who's interested in writing, because I know that more than just printmaking, you do spoken word poetry events, and you do this kind of performance side of things with your brother. And I would love to hear you speak to that a little bit and kind of how
Yeah.
the Amazing Hancock Brothers came to be and what you all do and why you all do it.
Well, gather round, children, for I have a story to tell. Now, no, I guess we've been doing this sort of stuff since like the 80s or whenever we've always kind of collaborated a lot. And I think we did it as a kind of a ploy to keep people at our openings longer. So they'd stay longer, maybe get drunk, and then buy something. So we'd always say, we have a performance in 1 hour. So we always used to do this like buffoonery and like costume pageantry and stuff, and people would wait around to hear us just like holler and insult people, I guess. But it's something that's kind of stuck. We've been just doing it like a lot. And, we even have people say, "Hey, can you just come on over and do a performance for us?" So, okay, sure. Let's get the band back together. So, but so we just been doing that, and we always kind of write, just every now and again. Sometimes I'll write when I need to. Charles will say, "Hey, we've got a performance coming up." So, okay, let me write something new. He's a little more thought out in his writing. I'm more stream of consciousness.
So for people listening who maybe haven't had the pleasure of seeing a Hancock Brothers performance,
it's not a pleasure for
who haven't had the experience of seeing a Hancock Brothers performance, could you talk about what a typical performance might include or entail, if there is even such a thing as a typical performance?
Oh, well, we usually I'll get some sort of pickup band, or we used to do instruments ourselves, but now my brother knows so many musicians down in Austin that he can always get at least a bass player, and we have a standing bongo player for us, always performs with us, and we just kind of like, I don't know, read some of the classics and try to hustle and always do some sort of pitch where we say, "Hey, and now for the next 15 minutes, you can buy anything off the wall at twice the price." Just kind of hustle people, kind of like a medicine show, carnival barker sort of stuff. And, sometimes it's worth the wait, and a lot of times it's not. So we just read just like, it's anything from poetry to diatribes. Lately, Charles has been pulling out some classics for us to read too, like Burroughs and Hunter Thompson and that sort of stuff, George Bataille sort of stuff. So we'll throw some of that in because, a cover band, they do covers. So why can't we? And a lot of times it's just stupid stuff, really. I say it's stupid, but I guess it has some semblance of meaning to it. It's not me to figure that out. I just do it.
You're just the vehicle. Yeah.
I guess so. The spirits are speaking through me. I guess it's kind of like we might have been born from like, I don't want to get too art historical or give any credulity to what we're doing, but, like the Dadaist would do the performances and those sort of weird things. So it's just a bunch of hustle and shuck and jive. We look at it. So,
yeah.
I guess that didn't even answer your question. Who knows?
I think it sheds some light on it. I think knowing that, especially when you're talking about that kind of carnival barker, which I think is a really good way to describe what it is, that it has this kind of like a surrealist carnival, maybe also late night beatnik poetry reading, all kind of coming together and in one, I would say.
I guess so, yeah. I guess that beatnik stuff, I guess that I always forget about that. But I just don't know how to snap my fingers, so it's nothing. And I don't own a beret or a turtleneck. So, but,
I mean, William Burroughs did hang out in a bunker and collect guns, so, you know.
That's right. He was a junkie too. So.
Yeah. And
that's one of my big regrets, not seeing him speak, but that's fine.
Yeah.
What's a life without a bunch of regrets?
And so I also know that, with the spoken word, the performance and all of that, but you'll also do actual like printmaking demonstrations or like a collaborative artwork where you'd be maybe working on like several artworks simultaneously and printmaking. So there's actually a performance element in the creation of prints in your practice. Is that correct?
Yeah. These days, I guess, I don't know what these days mean, maybe last 10, 15 years. Uncle Chuck and we've been working pretty hard at collaborating on stuff. Mm-hmm. I'll have some failed piece that I'm working on, then hand it off to him, and he'll spark it up, and vice versa. And we'll have a studio day every couple of months, and we'll just wreck the shop, and I'll just load up a bunch of images into screens, and we'll just start making stuff, just like printing on top of stuff, painting back on it. So, and we've done a couple of workshops like that, and talk about wrecking a shop. You know, we'll plow through about a couple hundred sheets of paper in one of the workshops, letting everybody participate. I think they definitely get their money's worth out of us, because I don't know, it's pretty laborious. You know, somebody's either cleaning screens or got ink all over their clothes, but yeah, we can get some good things out. It's like a shotgun blast. You're going to hit something substantially with it. And, you know, we have a lot of horrible things that we make, and then we just put them away and fix them later. So we always have something on stock. And a lot of times when we're getting ready for a show, we always think, oh, we ain't got nothing. But we got tons of stuff. But we always say, well, let's make some new stuff. So our major retrospects are probably no more than 6 months old with the work. So it's a lot of recycled stuff. You know. I think my brother pulled out a 20-year-old painting that he printed back on too, and then we fixed it up, made it look better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But, yeah.
I love that, because I think that a lot of people, when they're looking to make or create anything, they can get kind of paralyzed in taking that first step, and this idea that everything about that process needs to be controlled. And if they make something that fails, that somehow, you know, they'll never get over it. And so I love that idea of just making a lot, and knowing that you can return to it, and knowing that you can go back and curate it and figure out what you like and what you don't, but just diving in to the act of creation, and just letting the chaos happen.
That makes it sound smart. But yeah, a lot of people do. They do get kind of, you know, I see that with the students. They make one little mistake and the whole thing's ruined, and they're going to not get an A for the semester just because of one bad mark. I go, no, just keep making more. That's how I think. You know, Charles and I kind of think that we have this adage that printmaking is our pencil. You know, we just like draw with the blocks or draw with the screens, and then it comes together eventually. You know, we had this one project we did with Carlos Hernandez where we loaded up all the tables in my print shop at school with paper, and we just started printing on them, and then we'd work real fast, and it starts getting slower and slower, and then we start, curating more. Say, okay, this needs something here, something bright there, and then after about 3 hours, okay, pull the tape, put down the next batch, You know, they can get resolved to a degree in maybe about a 3-hour period, and that's about 30 or 40 pieces going on at once between us. So it's a kind of good way to work. And then, you know, you never get bored or you never get stuck on something because you're always moving. Then you see something new, and it takes a little bit of the preciousness out of it. And once it gets a signature on it, that's when it becomes the precious object. So, so then it's just paint and paper. So
it kind of sounds like stream of consciousness printmaking.
I guess so. If you kind of work with a set of finite images, if you only have like 20 screens with 3 different images in each screen, you know, there's your possibilities there, you know, all the colors. So yeah, and you can tighten it up later. We find that the flow works pretty good and it gets resolved pretty quickly and come out with something that looks half decent.
So something that I've also was curious to ask you, because you're talking about this way of working where you're kind of removing some of that preciousness. And then I also know that you're talking about printing on paper, but you'll also print on many other different things as well, like plastic or Little Mermaid bed sheets or something like that.
I forget which day was garbage day, but sometimes my brother would coordinate when people getting rid of big junk, garbage day. So we just kind of cruise the neighborhood with box cutters and say, okay, there's a mattress, take the top off of it, or just go to Goodwill and look through the sheet section because, hey, it's not a white canvas. It has a Little Mermaid on it, you know, or it has some colors. So just kind of work with that. And man, back in the olden days when we had print on mattress covers, we ruined so many blocks that way. We just like shove that mattress cover in a block through there. Said, crack it a little bit, so keep running. So we blew up so many blocks doing that. So yeah, we just print on whatever. And you know, a couple of years ago, I came into this palette of really nice plywood. So we've been printing on that, and I finally ran out of that. So, and I think when I moved back to Texas in '90, I went to this junk store and I saw this huge roll of fabric. It was about 5 foot tall and about maybe 2 feet wide, real heavy. And I'm down to maybe about 6 inches on that. So we've been using that for years. Had this huge water stain through it. So we'll stretch that up, paint on it, print on it, you know.
Yeah.
We always got something to print on. I couldn't tell you when the last time I printed on a $6 piece of paper. So.
I've seen you both described as low-tech print masters before in writings about what you do. Do you think that that's what people are referring to when they say that, or do you think it has a different significance?
That could be partially true. I think we always kind of scrapped for a long time, just especially when I got out of school. I didn't get that plum job right out of the gate. I used to have to work for a living, so I think I had this real crummy little press I procured someplace, and so we would print on that, or you know, print by hand. I don't know. We were pretty gut bucket back then, and we kind of still are. You can't take the pig out of the mire, I guess, but that's how we work. You know, it doesn't. We don't need much. You know. You know, you put me in a good shop, that's shitting in high cotton right there. That's luxury items and stuff. It's always like the wake of the Red Witch. When we go into a shop, we always wreck it because we're used to either working in a garage or out on the ground or on the hood of the pickup truck, you know. But we always clean up after ourselves. So, take only photographs, leave only destruction. I forget how that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I know some people that they're probably horrified at the way we work, but you know, you give me a stick and a pit of mud and I can make something out of it. You know, I don't need to have nice stuff.
Yeah.
Like my brother, he's in education also. He's a custodian at a elementary school, so he's always pulling stuff out of the dumpster. We'll print on metal shelves, partitions, desktops, whatever. So
it seems like you're breaking some of the printmaking rules a little bit. You know, that again,
rules?
Yeah. Did someone not tell you? And kind of breaking down that preciousness, which I love. I'm all for deconstructing that sort of artificial aura around art that it creates those barriers of like, don't touch it. It's really special. It's not for you. You know, anything like that. I love any practice that goes up against that. Did you feel like the adage was true for you that you have to learn the rules before you break them? Or did the two of you just dive in with all the blasphemy you could muster from the very beginning?
The blasphemy part's just a lifestyle. But, no, I don't know. I don't want to deny my pedigree, but I do know how to keep edges clean and tear paper. And I can do a clean edition if I have to. I only edition anymore if I'm doing an exchange or whatever. And it's, I know how to do all that stuff. And I guess I didn't know any better about learning the rules. I just kind of doing what I was expected of me. So I just do that stuff. And I realized, I got this big stack of really nicely done prints, and they're still sitting there. What do I do with them? A lot of times, again, when I say printmaking is kind of our pencil. If we need to edition something, we will. But a lot of times they're just one-offs, and they use printmaking as the image part of it. So I don't know. It's sometimes more fun just to kind of wreck an image. But I do find a little bit of solace and meditation and editioning stuff, and I know I can print a litho like the rest of them, and I know how to wipe a plate. I enjoy actually wiping plates, but I know how to do all that stuff. I can fake it,
Yeah.
Put me in a shirt with a clean collar, and you can take me to see your mom, and I won't embarrass myself.
You can show your clean edges. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I know how to behave.
Well, I think that, one of the things when people are using printmaking to create unique pieces, I always appreciate that in a sense where I think one of the albatrosses around the neck of printmaking is this idea that it's really only good if you need to make multiple images, or that somehow its capacity for the multiple is its chief value. And it moves away from the fact that each of the various media has its own aesthetic, has its own quality of line that you can only achieve really through a screen print, through an etching, through a lithograph. And I think that gets lost a little bit. And when you're creating works that are unique using printmaking, I do like how that pushes back against that idea and saying, yes, it was a lithograph, I could have printed 300, but I needed, the line to look this way, or I needed something about the actual practice of the creation to create this outcome.
And sometimes I'm seasonal when it comes to which printmaking thing I do. Like, sometimes I like just busting out a bunch of etchings, or I think right before the great pandemic of 2020, I was in there cranking out a bunch of lithos. And if I get back to the shop, I could do a litho a day. What I do with them, who knows? But yeah, I just like the act of drawing them, doing that type of drawing, and then that act of printing it. So I enjoy different aspects of it. I guess the solitary aspect of it I enjoy, and I like the free for all, like working with Uncle Chuck and making stuff too. So it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
So
we're talking a lot about kind of your personal practice and, you know, how you've come to it and that kind of thing. But I'd love to hear you speak to collaboration and having the experience of having your work kind of be wed to another person, but also someone that you're related to, someone that you've known your whole life. And I think, I don't know, I guess I'd just love to hear you talk about what that long-term collaborative relationship looks like, if you think it's like influenced or changed your work in any way, any potential pitfalls in collaboration that you can offer sage wisdom for people to avoid who want to be collaborators with someone. I don't know, just kind of speak to that process a bit more, I guess.
Well, I guess I'm going to say ditch the ego. I don't know that my brother and I ever had that much. And just kind of taking something so far, you know, you can take a half-baked idea or a set of images and, you know, it's okay, I'm just being kind of 100% half-assed on this one. Can you finish it? And so I just kind of trust him to do that. We kind of think on the same wavelength about stuff. He has a better color palette than I do, so he always adds kind of nicer things, I think, to it. And sometimes he likes to add in kind of cruder sort of lines and images, more graphic-y sort of stuff. So that's always pretty nice to give a little bit more meat to it. Mm-hmm. And he's completely buried tons of things I've sent to him. So, well, that looks pretty good, you know. But it's something he's responding to it, and he's not like he's whitewashing it and putting his own stuff on it. But I'll make screens or reuse blocks and stuff and do that. And it's a little more. I don't worry about it like working with Charles that way. Because I know he'll fix it and he'll give me a handful of stuff. He said, "Here, fix it." He says, "Here, fix these." He said, "Get rid of these because I can't do anything with it."
Yeah.
So he knows that I'll do whatever I do on top of them. And recently we've been collaborating with Carlos Hernandez a little bit on things, doing these big mashup things. We just had a show in San Antonio where we just made, I think we had a 12 by 15 foot canvas that we wrecked. And we worked on it one day, then Charles drug it back to his house and he kind of put the coup de grace on it and kind of like sparked it up pretty good. I think Carlos was a little worried he was going to put too much weird stuff in it, but I trusted Charles into fixing it. And he did a good job on that. So I don't know, just who you're comfortable working with. And sometimes Charles and I won't talk for a couple of weeks and then say, hey, we got to have a studio day. Let's go make something. But he's always doing stuff in his studio and I'm messing in mine. So he does his own thing. And you know, it's not all collaborative, but I guess just being comfortable with somebody and trusting them, ditching the ego.
I was thinking, you're saying ditching the ego, that would have to be such an intrinsic part of just handing over a piece to someone and just knowing that you have to be okay with whatever comes back and trusting them with it. You know, you'd have to really let go of the ego, as you said.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that much anyway. I know that a lot of artists kind of have a degree of bloated self-worth and overindulgent egos, but and maybe we do in our own way. But if somebody doesn't like something I've done, that's fine. You know,
yeah.
I don't make it for. I don't think he makes stuff for anybody's approval. You know, the bottom line's that check that we get when somebody buys it, I guess.
Yeah, that's some of the best approval you can get. Yeah.
And just making it for the sake of making it. I have this adage that I don't share with that many of the clientele, but I say, you know, what reason do you need to masturbate? It's the same reason you make art. You do it for yourself. You know? So that's I just do it. It's I don't know, I don't want to call it a life's calling, but I just got to make it.
When you said like that, yeah, you two don't have ego, what would you necessarily attribute that to? Was that kind of like how we were raised or just inert personality? Like, how do people avoid getting that kind of big head about their work, which can be just so annoying to be around?
And I don't know if I'm blocking it. Maybe I did when I was younger, and thinking, okay, this is how artists should be. My stuff is precious, it's important, and maybe how I was equating time and effort into something being good. Spending a lot of time on something and giving it value or worth that way. And I don't know when that's separated from me. I don't think Charles and I don't think that we were ever that good at anything, but I think it's the act of doing, the making it, and it's maybe just like laughing at your own joke, maybe. But I don't know when that would have left. Maybe I don't put a monetary value on it. Maybe that's what a lot of people do, and maybe that's their livelihood. Talking a different tale if I didn't have a job and rely on selling my stuff. But I know it didn't cost me $20 for that piece of paper that I did something on, and if somebody wanted to pay $20 for it, it's yours. Get it out in the world, get it out from under my feet. So I don't know. I just I get chided by a lot of my friends. You're selling your stuff too cheap. You're not putting a value on it or what it's worth. I said, well, what it's worth is what I get paid for it. I don't know. That may be me not being fiscally responsible, but that's kind of how I think. I do it. I have a job. That's why I can be so flagrant with not having money for my art.
Yeah, the pricing of prints is something that is, I think, so complicated and fraught. There's so many people where...
Well, you were in the business, so you know.
Yeah, and I think particularly if if you're working through a gallery, then it just gets really complicated because galleries have their own agenda and their own long view of what they're trying to work with. And, I think many people probably know, a lot of them don't even know how to deal with something that's a multiple, and it just gets all complicated. But yeah.
I don't even know if I answered your question.
I think you did.
So I'm slippery that way, I guess.
Yeah, it's like that politician trick, no matter what I ask, you can tell what you're going to say.
Yeah, you can edit it down to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just never think about that sort of stuff. And maybe that makes me kind of a bad educator or something, or a bad communicator. I just make stuff. Don't worry about it. And I think people put too much monetary value on stuff anyway. So.
Well, I think that's why people like me, the artist pesterers, can go in and ask the questions, and it might be something that you've never had the need to think about before, but that's sort of, I guess, I don't know, I feel like part of my job is to bother people a little bit and see what they have to say, which I think is always
it's not a bother.
Oh, thank you.
But I don't know, and maybe it's something I need to think about. I just again, maybe I don't think, I just do stuff, so don't have to have a reason, remember?
So I feel like my next question is perfect to ask on the heels of talking about, I don't know, ego and how one sees oneself, because I've seen you described as a founding father of 21st century printmaking in America before. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Is it the 21st century? It's the future already? I don't know. And maybe you're getting bad information from somebody. Let's see. How am I supposed to respond to that? And how do I feel about that? I'll take it if it comes with a check or a trophy. I don't know. I think maybe it's, and I don't want to say that I have a cavalier attitude about it, but I said, just make stuff, and don't be afraid to make something ugly or stupid. Just make something. I don't know. Maybe that's. I don't know if that's irresponsible. everything sorts itself out in the end, and everything ends as it should. But founding father, 24. Like I said, I'll take it. If somebody wants to put in a book, I'll take it. It's kind of flattering a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's the good people at Drive By Press is where I got specifically it from. So if you want to call up and ask someone, but how they got you put on the spot
right there,
right? Nepotism, yeah.
Well, I know Joseph is, and maybe he got the raw deal on that because he had to study with me. But I don't know, he might have hit me at a good time in terms of how to go about doing stuff, and Joseph has a great attitude about it. And, it's I guess printmaking's it's a good kind of gateway to whatever, just image making, I suppose. But yeah, I'll take it.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I know I really do love what you were just saying too about just making something and not being afraid if it's stupid or ugly. And I think that is such an important lesson that's really hard to, especially as a someone who's just starting on a creative journey of some kind, to really take to heart. Because I think a lot of that, again, it comes back to ego, because it's, if I make something and it's bad, what does that say about me? What does that say about my art? And I think if you can kind of divorce yourself from hanging on to that need for affirmation of the ego through the creation, that you'll be so much freer to make something that's really decent, because you're not afraid to push through the stuff that's not.
And that's why I think these days it makes it a little bit difficult, my attitude, especially being in education. They're so concerned about whatever the assessment of their project is. I'd say just, and they want, the dog wants their treat, for
right.
doing the trick right. And I just and I don't know, my attitude about, I'm actually kind of unlearning everything that I've learned in graduate school, and I don't know, I just look at education's being a little backward these days. I don't know, I feel bad that the kids have to pay so much for the same thing that they could get off of YouTube or something. But I'll show somebody like 100 times how to do something if that's what they need, and just tell them to be themselves. And I'm going to say the unpopular thing, and I'd say, don't ever write an artist statement. You haven't got anything to say, just draw it. And just I guess I'm the world's worst academic these days, I suppose. But I just want, they'll learn by making, and it's how both roads are long and a little bit arduous, but they all end up at the same place. They just go in a couple of different directions. So I don't know. I just want people to make stuff. And printmaking, is so technique and process, and so you have to learn the steps. But if I had a kid that makes the world's filthiest print, but the image looks good, I said, put a mat on it. It'll be fine. Get the white out. Get the white paint. Fix it. The bad teacher here. So. And a lot of times people don't need anybody's permission to make stuff. They just need to make it, There doesn't have to be a reward. Just because you ate supper don't mean you're getting dessert.
Yeah, I think that idea of just because you've made something doesn't mean that you get a reward. I don't know. I just think that's a really significant statement, because we're so much in our contemporary world like the rats in the cage that's like, hit the button, get the sugar cube, post a photo, get a like. It's like it's this constant sort of need for that feedback. Like, I've made something affirm me, and again, that just is so linked to that idea of that fragile ego that needs to be propped up. Instead, if it's that message that you're giving that's just like, just make and don't worry about that, it really, if people took it to heart, I think they'd be making more, and I think they'd be happier too.
Yeah, of course. I said, you don't need a reason to make it, just do it. do it for yourself, sort of thing. And again, a lot of times I just give my stuff away. So I'm horrible at table sales and stuff like that. My friends will just look at it. You just gave him like 5 prints. How much you get? So I think he had $5. I don't care. If somebody wants to give it a good home, that's cool with me.
Yeah.
I'm a bad educator and a bad businessman to boot.
I was going to say, you're going to have so many people at your table next year. And people being like, I heard on the podcast that if you tell John you only have $5. Yeah.
A lot of times I'm never at my table. And so I hope that I'll just walk away from it and say, maybe somebody will take. I think Catherine Polk said, I went by your table and you weren't there. I said, would you take anything? I said, no. I said, why not? I said, I thought I would, but yeah, take it. I don't care. Yeah. I won't miss it.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I don't know. If it makes somebody else happy, that's great. Maybe that's my reward. Maybe
right.
That's my salty treat.
So that the MFA that Tim's getting here in Australia, when he arrived here, it kind of turned out that the program was much more theoretical than he thought, and that was a bit of a disappointment because he was interested in the making, and he's suddenly found that people are asking him that that he has to cite Foucault and all this sort of thing, but after sort of his mid MFA review, we all went out to coffee. It was me and him and his 2 advisors, and one of them said something that I just loved. So he was just like, just forget about the theory. You just tell them my practice is my theory, bitch. And I just want, I loved it so much. And I just I wish that was kind of, could be taken more to heart by more makers. And just some of what you're saying, I'm just hearing that in my head, that my practice is my theory, bitch.
And it ain't theory because it's actual.
Right. So. Absolutely.
And that sounds more like one of those weird PhDs in studio. It's all that sort of writing stuff. And I'm not saying that, we don't have to be ignorant boobs about it. But, if he signed up for one thing, he's getting another,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, get a cushy job just talking about making prints instead of doing them.
Yeah.
Save his back.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not as ignorant as I seem, but I kind of don't. I can appreciate that smart talk and Foucault. Blah. Wore out early 20th century bullshit. We're still stuck in the Bauhaus, and we're in the 21st century from what you tell me. So.
Yeah. You've heard it here from the founding father. Yeah.
Yeah. The future is now. But and that's why I've kind of reconsidered how I approach things, and we're still teaching that shit from the Bauhaus, which I guess is easy to do in a book or in a kit, but I guess it's based on what we're willing to look at, what we can tolerate to look at, Why not break a few rules, So again, my ignorance shining through.
I think some of it too is based on this idea of somehow we have to look to someone else to validate the way we feel about something. You can't look at a piece of art and have the reaction that you have to it sort of stand alone in some legitimacy in and of itself. You have to find some old dead white guy who seemed to say something important about it that you can put in a footnote, and all of a sudden your opinion is right. It just seems like so artificial, and it's a snake eating its own tail in this theory world.
I know. It's I think real little kids, they know where it's at. They either like it or they don't like it. If something tastes bad, then you don't like it. Or something burns your skin, that's not cool unless you're into that sort of stuff. But I'll go to museums and I'll go bullshit. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Bullshit, and on a last ditch effort, if it interests me enough, I will go read whatever the artist's statement is, and then I can declare it bullshit. But the artist in me, the visual artist in me, I just want to look at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to read it unless I'm reading. I know that sounds real crass, but I don't know. There's a lot of garbage out there. And again, it's like somebody telling us what's, dictating our tastes, what's good and what's not. So I won't be written up by. I don't even know who writes anything anymore these days. So it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I am coming just a bit past my hour recording mark, so.
All right, thanks. Goodbye.
Yeah.
See you later.
What? No, I'm wrapping up. Don't go. No. So I just wanted to make sure that before I sign off and before we say goodbye, if you could tell people where they can find you if they want to see your work and follow your work and reactions free of artist statements to your creations and all of that.
As long as they hit that like button, that's fine.
Get you that sugar cube, right?
Get my fix. I think I have my Instagram account where I post a lot of art on there, and sometimes the Hancock brothers may come to a town near you and show their work. So always come out to something like that. Mm-hmm. Because it's always like a cheap thrill, and usually it's free booze. So, but my Instagram handle is NATAS, and you can find me there, and you can look at stuff. Maybe that's where you can find it. If we don't have a website, too hard to keep up. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can Google us or something. I don't know. See something. Is that enough information?
That's definitely enough information. So that's definitely where people can find you. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, John. I really want to thank you for taking some time out of your evening and sharing it with me.
Of course, and always good to meet another stranger and get to visit about stuff. Maybe we'll meet up one of these days in the real world.
I hope so. I hope when the world allows people to meet again, we'll get a chance to cross paths. I'd really like that. And I
won't be hurt if you turn the other way too. So no, we'll meet soon. So
yeah, definitely.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, this has been really nice. Thank you so much, and I'll be in touch. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye, John. Well, that's our show for this week. Join me again next week when my guest will be Gordon Cook, the founder of the London Original Print Fair, which has been held every year since 1985. Until this year. We're going to talk the founding of the fair, print dealing in the 21st century, and taking the fair digital in the age of COVID. You won't want to miss it. This episode, like all episodes, was written and produced by me, Miranda Metcalf, with editing help from Timothy Pauschak and music by Joshua Weber. I'll see you next week.